It's fantastic because you can pull this out of your kit bag without having any preparation. That's what I love about it. Hi, Richard here from Learn, Implement, Share. In this video I'm going to talk quickly about what I think is the best or one of the best maths extension activities you could ever come across. Because it's so simple, because it engages students, and because it is extremely mathematical. Now, if you're going to teach maths, period, you need some decent extension exercises more than, okay, just do some more of the red questions in your textbook, George. We need to do better than that, but it shouldn't be just some mindless activity. There are some great ways of extending students and having extension activities, and maybe a bank of problem-solving questions that they work through every time they've finished early, something like that. But it's even more important if you're starting to teach in a more student-centered structure, then you're going to have more students finishing earlier than others. So you definitely need some really good activities up your sleeve, because they might need to be engaged for a lesson or two. And so you need good quality activities. So here it is. Here's my best maths extension activity. In principle, all it is have the students make up their own questions, but there's a lot of structure to it. So you need to explain that your task is to make up a question that is, you do a rough copy, and then you do the solutions, and it's got to work, and then you make a neat copy on paper. Well, it depends on whether you've got access to digital or whatever, but let's say we're handwriting. So a neat copy of the question and a neat copy of the solution. Now, right there, if it's a chunky question, that could take well over a lesson. That could be a lesson and a homework. It might even be 2 lessons. But here's a key facet to this. You need to limit the type of question that the student creates. So the easiest way is to take a question out of a textbook. So this is assuming you're following a fairly traditional kind of path. You've got a textbook, and at the end of the chapter, you've got some fairly chunky, challenging sort of questions. You don't want to pick a question that is at the level of the student's ability, because they'll get lost in the detail and probably they won't end up creating a question. You need to say to them, like, you'll know what their ability is, and then you just kind of take one notch down. So it's not the hardest question in the book, but it's just something that they would find fairly easy to accomplish. Not dead easy, but certainly not super challenging. So something that's well inside their ability zone. So you can say, okay, see these questions here on this page? You might want to choose something at about that standard. Right? We don't want you to try to invent rocket science or something. Because what will happen, boys in particular will go for something really hard because they think that's really challenging, and they just get lost. Okay, so then it's basically a waste of time. So that's really critical. And then you set them to task. You probably need to check their solution. But what happens is, over time, you then have a bank of questions. You've got Geordie's question, you've got Carly's question, you've got Deb's question, you've got Ajit's question, you've got Mahem's question for different topics. And so you can start using them in the very unit that they... Sometimes you can have students create questions and then they are used by other students in that same topic. So that's pretty cool. But also other classes could start using them. And then you've got the year below who is using Carly's question the following year, and they see Carly in the schoolyard and say, hey, Carly, I did your question today. It does engender quite a bit of a buzz, and students love it because it is student-centered. They're putting their own heart and soul into creating the question. I mean, the idea for this came from me because I used to make up my own questions. Not all of them, but I used to make up some pretty quirky questions. And I thought, gee, there's a lot of mathematics in making up a question. This is what students should be doing. So that's where the idea came from. Anyway, it's fantastic because you can pull this out of your kit bag without having any preparation. That's what I love about it. And you've got to work out how do they get it photocopied and all that sort of stuff. Well, perhaps you go and photocopy it overnight, and then the next day you've got 5 versions of Carly's question or whatever it is. So there it is. Very simple to run. 0 preparation, pretty much. You just need to be very careful that they work on the right standard of question for them. So check it out. You might already do something like this, but perhaps not quite as structured. So play with that. Hopefully you got something from that little ditty, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.